Welcome to Sword of Laban, where we seek greater light and truth and have fun. Now, there's a YouTube channel out there called Salty Saints. It's a great new channel. These guys are faithful Latter-day Saints, but they keep it light and have fun. So check them out right after this video and subscribe. Now, they recently started sharing mission stories regularly, and they asked their viewers for who would like to come on the show or even just write out a mission story for them to share. So those of us who went on missions, we all have mission stories to share, and it's a great chance to flood YouTube with positive and faith-promoting experiences. So I signed up and I went on their show. It was a lot of fun, and I want to share the interview here too for those that aren't yet subscribed to Salty Saints. So enjoy. Oh, and if you want to share a mission story with them, email saltysaints1@gmail.com. Enjoy.
And now, Tales from the Mission.
I served in Japan, as I said, Tokyo North Mission, and when you called for mission stories, the first one that came to mind was right at the start of my mission. I was only there for 2 weeks, and I didn't speak Japanese very well. My trainer was a big Australian guy, and we were out one day. Okay, so a couple of contextual things first. In Japan, there is a mafia called the Yakuza, and they run casinos and gentlemen's clubs and things like this. And there's a lot of these posters that are stuck up. Well, somebody sticks up these posters. They're about this big. They have pornography on, and they advertise, "Hey, come to this club or casino or whatever." Mm-hmm. So my trainer, we would walk along every day since the first day of my mission, and every time we see one of these, we'd just kind of crumple it up and drop it on the ground, crumple it up and drop it on the ground. I was like, shouldn't we not litter? We just put this in our bags? He's like, no, we don't want to see anyone. We don't want anyone to see us piling hundreds of these in our bag, right? So walking along 2 weeks into the mission, it was night. We were just about to enter our apartment because of curfew, and we were crumpling these things up half a block from our apartment. And we heard this yelling, and this guy came charging at us, and he pulled out this big baton, like a 3-foot long kind of stick thing, and he ran up to us and he started whacking our bikes. He was obviously mad that we were had some association with the Yakuza, presumably, because he was not happy that we were doing this, and maybe he was sitting there waiting for us to come by. So any reasonable two people might have just said sorry and walked away. But my companion was, he was a fiery Australian guy, and he was not having any of it. So he was yelling back at this guy and getting up in his face. And I didn't know anything was going on, because in Japan, there's kind of different levels of language, right? There's this polite language, and then there's the regular language, and then there's this really low level language that you talk to your dog with. And I didn't learn any of this stuff in the MTC.
Yeah.
But they were yelling at each other in this low level language. And so he came up to us. He was whacking our bikes and kind of forcing us back. And of course there was 2 of us and 1 of him, but at the same time he had a weapon. So, a bit of a toss up. I'm not sure. I did a bit of martial arts, but I'm not really sure if that's effective. I've never been in a fight. But
sure.
Right at that moment, within about 20 seconds of him getting right up in our face, whacking our bikes, and about to go at us, this van pulls up with tinted windows, and the window winds down, and this American voice says, "Hey, elders, where's your apartment? We can't find it." So the assistants to the presidents were driving around. By the way, the only time in my entire mission that they came and visited one of my areas.
Wow,
and it was
so you got some backup. Yeah,
and then the side door rolled open, and there was 6 guys in suits in the back. So we had our own mafia just roll up within the space of this 5-second window when things were getting really heated. And the timing on that thing, if you think about how many seconds there are in your 2-year mission, and to have this one occurrence happen just once perfectly on time. Turns out they were driving around, they couldn't find our apartment, and all these things worked out that they just happened to drive right up to us right when we needed them. Well, when I needed them, because my companion was ready to fight this guy, but I needed them to come and pull up. And the door slides open, and you should have seen the look on this Japanese guy's face. He was confused and then worried, and then oh man, the American mafia is here. So he just took off. So
what would have happened if your companion got into a fight with this mafia member?
Well, that is interesting, because I've thought about this over the years.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, like I said, you could say, oh, it's fine. He just had a stick, right? You could have, but on the other hand, it could have been a lot worse. You can imagine this guy, getting into a fight with us, maybe whatever, he runs away, but then he comes back the next day with 6 of his buddies and he lays wait for us and he exacts his revenge in a dark alley, right? So
yeah.
I think the Lord knew that it could have gotten a lot worse and and that we weren't running away because of, my trainer getting in this guy's face. Yeah. So something had to be done. And yeah, he sent some backup. Exactly. It was glorious. It was just like one of the most beautiful moments of my mission. I say that facetiously. It's not.
Yeah.
There were more beautiful moments, but I tell that story, and then as I think about it, it's, there are miracles on your mission. You'll see them, but 99.999% of your mission will be everything else, and it will be hard slog, and there will be. So if you go into your mission and you think you're going to be expecting these miracles and miraculous healings, well, I saw miracles, I saw miraculous healings, but most of it was not. And so, and you might not see any miracles at all, right? So we need to kind of have the right expectations going in. So I wanted to share one other story that I think is also a miracle, right up there with that. It was truly the power of God, and it was more in line with the sorts of miracles that I saw day to day in the mission.
Yeah.
This one has just stuck with me for whatever reason. The missionaries were all meeting together at the church for some district conference or something, I don't remember. And there was an investigator there. He'd been an investigator for a while. He's one of the investigators that just kind of hangs out with the missionaries, and he comes to missionary things like this.
Yeah.
And he and I were sitting outside on the steps of the church, and he had cigarettes in his pocket, and he pulled them out and he was kind of handling them and talking to me, and I didn't fully get what he was saying. But then he kind of jumped up with these cigarettes in his hand, and I finally got what he was saying. He was telling me that these were the last packet of cigarettes. He just realized that he doesn't have any at home, and this is the last packet of cigarettes. And he's telling me that he felt that he was going to quit right now. And he took these cigarettes, and like, we're all excited, and I called the other elders out, and we threw them on the ground and we stomped on them, and we had some fun, and we threw them in the trash. And it was glorious. It was just wonderful, because the Spirit, like, this guy was in the right place. He wasn't, drinking in a bar. He was with the missionaries. He was at the church. He was doing the best he could. And the Spirit spoke to his heart so strongly that he needed to quit cigarettes. And he did. As far as I know, for the remainder of my time there, he quit cigarettes. And that was one of the major barriers, that the reasons why he couldn't get baptized. And so, anyway, I just feel like
that's incredible.
That's profound.
These are profound. And if we look at we could look at either one of those stories and say that the power of God wasn't there, it was just chance, or the guy just had this thought or whatever. But I don't think we're going to really see the truth of things until we see God's hand in them. So I wanted to share those.
Yeah, that's well, powerful. to that story, like the Spirit you definitely felt there is powerful, but the real miracle is the enduring willpower that he was gifted through his belief in God to rewire his brain, essentially, right? Because addiction in any sense is nothing. It's not an easy thing to overcome at all. It's one of the hardest things because no one can see it. Only you feel it, right? Like you have to remap your brain in a way that I feel like only God can help you with. So that's pretty impressive. If you just made that decision and stuck to it like that. That's amazing.
It's incredibly impressive. I mean, these things are gripping. Addictions, I mean, people that have suffered with addictions know that they're no joke. And so to experience a complete change of nature just by attending and doing the right things, it reminds me of the verse that by their fruits ye shall know them. And this is something that Jesus said. It's interesting. He didn't say like by their teachings. He didn't say by their words. He didn't say like by their intellectual prowess you will know them. He said by their
Instagram posts. Yeah.
By their Instagram reels or anything like that. He said by their fruits. And so this guy was able to experience one of the fruits of the gospel, which was a change of nature, which is incredibly powerful.
Yes, and it is a very, like I think you mentioned, it's a very private struggle with addiction, I think. I mean, I don't have experience here, but I have obviously helped, people like this guy. Well, I don't know if I helped at all, but another experience which I think highlights the difficulty of it. To those of you that haven't struggled with addiction, I'm going to share an experience that my dad told me. he is a convert to the church, and it was he drank coffee. He was a med student. He had to drink coffee to keep up with the 100-hour weeks at the hospital kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he always thought to himself that he didn't drink coffee because he was addicted, right? The missionaries told him that coffee's bad, it can make you addicted. And he's like, I'm not addicted. I just like it. Just like the taste. I just like the smell. Calms me down a little bit. But then he tried to stop.
Yeah.
And it was really hard. He shared that at the hospital where he was working, he couldn't even be in the lunchroom during lunchtime because of the smell. It was too much. And he had to take a walk around outside. And he realized that he was addicted. He was in denial the whole time. So I really think that there are these powerful struggles that people deal with, and they're very private and they're very difficult. And only the power of God can help you overcome them. So testify to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's amazing that he had that experience, And so it sounds like he was able to overcome eventually. Is that right?
Yeah, he is. And he was baptized in his 20s, and yeah, been faithful ever
That's
since.
impressive. Yeah,
That's amazing.
I mean, to realize it and then to make the correction to, not even go in the cafeteria, that alone takes willpower, right? It's like, I know what's in there. I'm just going to avoid it entirely. So, wow, that is awesome.
Well, and I love the cliche of like, I'm in control. I can stop this whenever I decide to, and then realizing, wait a second, maybe I'm not in control.
I just never want to stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one last note to hark back to your first story. I was just thinking about it and like, there's no better way that God could have neutralized that situation than sending those elders.
Yeah,
It was a no-win situation, just thinking about it. Like either you beat up the guy and he comes back with more, or you guys get beat up, which is not an ideal situation. But like to show that you have a whole group behind you that is supporting you and you don't want to fight, that just like neutralized that instance and all future instances of conflict all in one like 5-second moment. That's awesome.
A group that you could call on demand, seemingly, right? Like this guy had no idea, but maybe he thought like, oh man, these guys are good. They're always hovering around the city.
That van was just waiting around the corner.
That's
right.
It
was just
we
waiting.
got him.
Yep. And it wasn't like it was just a small thing. This was 6.5 hours from the mission home. Just the fact that they were there in the first place was just, but you're right. It is the best way, and God does solve things in the best way. They may not seem like the best way initially. This one did, but often they may not seem like the best way, but in retrospect, they usually are.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
That's super cool. Well, we appreciate you coming on and telling your story. We'd love for people to check out your channel. We know you recently started up a YouTube channel. Could you give people a little bit of information about that? I
did, sure. Yeah, it's called Sword of Laban. You can find it. Started about the same time as this channel, but I just think it's great if we can, like I said at the beginning, if we can just lower the threshold of how difficult it is for us to share the light that we have. I think that's powerful. So that's just one reason I'm trying to
Well, I think there have been a lot of conference addresses that have specifically mentioned like getting out onto social media and bringing your social media followers into the fold and stuff like that. And so I mean, that's resonated with me. It sounds like it's resonated with you. And it's really encouraging to see more and more active members pushing out faithful content onto YouTube.
Totally. It's needed.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for stopping by
and guys.
Sharing your experiences.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
Later. We'll see you.
Okay. Bye.
All right, so for anyone else out there that realized that David was not Tanner or myself, it's because he acted on our invitation to submit some mission stories. So if you'd like to come on the show and share your story, that's great. You can upload your story. You can write it. If you feel like you're not that great of a live storyteller, write it down. We'll read it. We want to hear more mission stories. We'd love to get more of them out there. We'd love to flood social media with more of these mission stories or conversion stories, family history stories. Any kind of faith-promoting story that we can get our hands on, we'd love to fill the internet with it. If you'd like to submit a mission story, just reach out to the email below. So that's saltysaints1@gmail.com. Let's get connected there. You can upload your story to maybe your Google Drive and share it with that email, or we can just start connecting and figure it out from there.